starting of which, is it profitable for you? That's a component you have to consider. Is it worth my time to build out the website? Yes or no? I have found, generally speaking, that higher priced products are better for me because it takes as much time to promote a low priced product as it does to promote a high priced product. So for me, one of the markets I look for are higher priced products in that particular marketplace. I'm also looking at high commission payouts. So I want to make sure that there's a lot of pay-per-click competition, because if people are spending money on pay-per-click to get that traffic, that means there's money to be made by selling those products as an affiliate. I also look for high earnings per click in the affiliate networks like CG.com, because if people are making high earnings per click, that means there's a lot of money to be made as an affiliate. Amazon also pays up to 4 times higher commissions for the newest stores or hot categories that they wish to sell more of. So currently, MP3s are paying out a 10% commission rate versus the general 4% that they start out at. And I've seen them in the past offer as much as 20% for MP3 files, because when they introduced the MP3 marketplace, they wanted to go up against Apple's iTunes store. So they said, well, what better way to do it than to motivate our affiliates? We're going to pay them 20% per sale. And that's what they did. They did the same thing with something called Endless.com. Part of the program, Amazon just bought Zappos, which is a shoe store. They also have this Endless.com promotion going on right now, which says if you promote our Endless.com store, we'll actually pay you a base commission rate of 15%, which is actually almost 4 times higher than the standard starting commission rate that Amazon pays out. And video on demand services, they were going up against Blockbuster. Blockbuster went bankrupt, so who knows what's going on there. But they're also going up against Netflix for streaming videos online. So Amazon wants to make sure that they get a quick foothold in the video on demand marketplace, so they're paying a 10% commissions. So look for those things too. And in fact, if you go into Amazon, in the associate program website that I showed you earlier, they'll give you a list of their commission payouts. You can either have a fixed fee or variable rate fee. And my advice is they start out by default going for variable rates, and I have found that variable rate fees are usually better if you get an amount of traffic more than a few sales. If you notice here, they start everyone out at 4%. And they tell you, right now though, we're paying gift cards for 6% commissions. At Endless.com, we're paying 15% commissions. Amazon Video on Demand is 10%, MP3 is 10%. Electronic products start out with fixed advertising fees for 4%. So they tell you that we're only paying 4% for fixed advertising rate on electronic products. But you can still get 4% of a $2,000 product, which is a lot of money. It's $80. It's a big commission. The difference being, though, is that if you notice in their volume-based advertising schedule, you see that everyone starts out at 4%. And then if you make 7 sales, they raise you up to a 6%. So they increase your commissions by 50% simply by making 7 little sales. And then if you go over 31 sales, they bump you up to 6.5%, and then 7%, and then 7.5%. And they'll move your standard categories all the way up to more than double the initial payouts. They'll move you up to 8.5% payout in all the categories, with a few exceptions, simply by doing a higher volume of sales. But you have to keep an eye on things like caps. Computers are capped out at 25 max commissions. So even though they're willing to pay out 4% on computers, the max they'll pay you is $25. So you really, unless you get a lot of traffic already for computers, you might want to pick a different marketplace, because you can only make $25. Another one's capped out to our MP3 products, our $1.50 max commission per sale. Electronics, you get 4% flat fee, but it's 4% on a $2,000 sale. That's $80. It beats the heck out of 25. So those are the type of things that you need to consider when you're looking at a profitable market to promote. Something else, you need to look to see if there's a high demand by buyers, to see if they're actually talking about the product online, and see if anyone's actually spending money to advertise that market. So here's a list, 2, 4, 6, 7 different resources that I use to do market research and also find out if they're profitable markets. And also higher priced products, as I said before, it takes as much time to promote a low price product as it does a high priced product, so try to lean towards high priced products. But don't forget to consider volume of overall sales and traffic patterns that are available to you. If the volume for your high priced product is 10 searches a month versus going after a lower priced product that has 100 million searches a month, then you might want to consider the lower priced product. You also have to take consideration seasonal spikes in demands that the holidays and other seasons produce. So Christmas trees sell more during the Christmas holiday selling season. Also, plasma TVs generally spike during the last 2 or 3 months of the year, including going through January leading up to the Super Bowl. Also, plasma TVs have been driven by new product introductions. So when you're doing your research and you saw that they're introducing a new 1080p PlayStation 3 a couple of years ago, they actually sold more high-def televisions because people were buying the Xbox and they were buying the PS3 because those are high-definition gaming systems. So we actually saw spikes in high-def television sales follow the sales of the Xboxes and the PS3s when they were introduced. Digital cameras. I'm going to show you in a second how digital cameras year after year have a holiday spike. The last 2 months of the season sell the majority of cameras. I think it's something like 40% of all digital camera sales are made in the last quarter of the year because they're driven by holiday sales. I'll show you that graph in a second here. Toys definitely have a holiday spike. Halloween costumes, holiday spike. Power tools, not only do they sell more power tools during the holidays, but you'll see when the economy goes bad, more people buy power tools because they're doing their own renovations and fixing things at home. Something else you can do for higher, well, if you're looking for a profitable market, is check out the pay-per-click competition. Go over to the free Google keyword tool. Search Google keyword tool. You'll find it. It's free. You go over there and do a search for your general market. I believe here I searched for electronics because that's one of the markets I'm looking at. And you'll notice that under the competition column, there's a green bar. The more green there is, that means more people are bidding on keywords in the pay-per-click marketplace. That's a good thing. Competition is our friend. We want to make sure that people are making money in the marketplace. And we know that, hey, if more people are actually paying higher amounts of money to advertise in this particular marketplace, that means more people are actually making money in that marketplace, which is one of the key components of our research. We want to make sure that we can make money as an affiliate selling the product, which means if advertisers are out there selling the product and they're willing to spend more money to advertise, that means that's a market where people are making money, and that's important to us. We want to make sure that money is being spent on pay-per-click ads because that means people are actually making money in that marketplace. We don't want to enter in a marketplace where people can't make money. Also, something we're looking at is Google Trends. Here's a tool that I look at. I've actually narrowed this search down to the United States because that's where the majority of my visitors come from. It's where I do most of my traffic generation from. And I'm looking at digital cameras because that is, as I said earlier in my research, I found out that it's a big market, but it also has a seasonal spike. And if you notice from this graph, at the end of the fourth quarter 2009, we saw a huge spike in volume at the end of that year. And if you look at 2008, same thing. 2007, same thing. Now, if you just looked at year-to-date graph for digital cameras, you might have been thrown a curveball. You'd say, oh my God, digital cameras are actually trending down. I'm not going to enter into a market that's trending down. Well, that's a false trend. If you look at the trend, you do the historical data, you'll see that if you go back more than just 2010, you look at 2009 and you look at the last 12 months, look at the trailing 12 months and you'll see these seasonal spikes. Digital cameras spike at the last quarter of every single year, and we're entering into what? The last quarter of this year, 2010. So we're going to start to see an increase in the number of searches done for digital cameras. I also narrowed it down to hot states because a lot of people ask me, well, how do you do local marketing? Well, here's a good tool. Google Trends. You could actually research by different geographic areas. You can do by countries or you can do by states. I chose United States, and it shows that Utah and South Carolina and Kansas are hot states right now for people searching for digital cameras. So I could target my marketing for the hot states that are looking for digital cameras. So I could say Utah digital camera because, as I said earlier, and it's not something we'll get into great detail on, but I know from my previous videos and research that the majority of local searches still start their research online. Something like 60 to 70% of all local purchases actually had the research done online first before they went to the local store to buy the product. And we can talk about cars, we can talk about furniture, we can talk about small appliances, electronics. 60 to 70% of all local purchases still start the research on the internet. Then it's your job to get in front of that and drive them to a local store. So also, if you wanted to do by city, you can see by cities that the hottest cities for digital camera searches right now are listed on the cities category. Newark, New Jersey, Pleasanton, California, Cincinnati, Ohio, Reston, Virginia. If you have a local store there, or even if you want to target locally because it's cheaper to buy ads or even optimize your websites, it's easier to optimize for local searches, then this is a tool that you can use for those things too. But for now, I wanted to make sure that I was entering into a market that wasn't trending down. And as we see, digital cameras actually is about to start trending back up, which is another interesting point. Google said in their studies They cover about 600 categories of things or more inside the Google Trends. I can't remember the exact number, but we're talking about hundreds of categories. And they said somewhere around 85 to 80% of all trending data that's in their database is predictive of future results. Predictive. So there's a predictability of future trends based upon past trends using the Google Trends tools. So we know that, hey, if this thing's trending up, trending up, trending up, and it's a fairly stable trend up, we can expect it to continue going forward. If we know in the past we've seen spikes in the fourth quarter of the year, there's a high probability that you're going to see another spike in the end of this year. For example, digital cameras. So even Google themselves says, listen, there's a high predictability value of Google Trends in at least 85% of the categories that we follow. Some of the categories aren't so predictable. Some of them are. I can't tell you what they are, folks. There's hundreds of them. But I know that when you look at things and you see seasonal factors that we talked about earlier, you can see the predictability that is tied into the Google Trend graph. Something else you can do, go over to cj.com. It's free, cj.com. Go over there, sign up for an account. Once you get an account, you can go in there. You can look for general categories, different markets that you're in. And then your job is to say, okay, here's my top 10 markets that I've picked. Let me see if anyone's making money as an affiliate. CJ.com is an affiliate network. It means people go here to find products in your particular potential markets to sell. We want to find out if they're making any money. So we take a look and we say, oh, here are all these categories in my marketplace. Let's say, for example, it is... I don't even remember what category this is, but let's say it's digital cameras. Are there something available for sale? Yes. And then we go in and do the research, and I don't know if this is digital cameras. It just applies to all the categories. You'll see that there's a 3-month EPC column and a 7-day EPC. EPC stands for earnings per click. CJ.com standardizes them per 100 clicks. They're saying that 100 clicks, the dollar amount per made per 100 clicks for this particular market is $90.33 for one advertiser versus $44.58 for another advertiser. We're not talking about that right now. What we want to know is, are affiliates in general making money selling products in this particular market? The answer is yes. People are making up to $90.33 per 100 clicks for this particular product in this particular marketplace. Also, we look at what's called the network earnings category column. And when you look at the network earnings column, there's 5 potential bars in the graph. Each bar turns green when it's more successful. The more green in a bar, that means more money is being made in the network. So it's relative to the other advertisers in the network. So if you see network earnings where there's 5 green bars in the graph, that means they are making more money than 95% of the other advertisers in that particular network. If you see 3, that means basically 60 or 70%. So the more green, the better in network earnings, and also higher EPCs. If your marketplace sees products being sold through CJ, people are making a decent EPC on them, and a decent could be $2 or it could be $100 based on the market that you choose. And if the network earnings are high for that particular market, then you know, yes, there is money to be made in my particular market, and that's part of the research phase. So at this point, we're done with the video, folks. Finally, so we're going to talk about the action plan. This is what you need to do going forward. First, do your Amazon bestsellers research and write your ideas down for later. Visit Amazon.com, search the bestsellers in at least a dozen different categories, including categories you would never think of. Write those ideas down. Then do your next big thing research. Head over to technorati.com or use any of those tools that we talked about to find the hot blogs and hot markets, and also search for hot magazines and look for the next big thing. Find out which digital cameras they're getting great reviews. Find out which product announcements say, hey, we've got this hot new product coming out, such as the new iPads. There's a big rumor that new iPads are coming out. If you do your product research, you'll see that they're thinking about trying to get them out before Christmas. I don't know if they'll be able to do it, but that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the next big thing. So write down the products that you find on the blogs and the magazines for the next big thing as part of your overall market research. Once you get those ideas, go over and use those tools that we talked about. We talked about Google Pay-Per-Click, their free keyword tool. We talked about Google Trends. Pick a profitable market by doing the research that I just shared with you. Keep a list of your top markets based on your research, and then narrow it down to just one for your new affiliate website. Because in a couple of video tutorials, we're going to talk about how to optimize your website, how to build it in a particular market or for a particular product. So even though you have 10 great markets, keep those on your list for later. You can always build those down the road, but we need you to pick just one for now so you can participate in the next tutorials going forward. And in the next video, Video number 2, we're going to talk about product research. So folks, that's it. Keep an eye out for video number 2 in our Amazon Affiliate Quick Start series. That will be all about the product research phase. My name is Jeff Johnson. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk again very, very soon.